Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, or in the case of our guest, a wonderful Monday so far. Welcome. So, thank you for joining us once again for the all-time prime fantasy league. I'm your host, Arm Historian, and I'm here with a very special guest, someone who will complete the Australian trifecta for me. Of course, he's an arm wrestling promoter who I've recently had the pleasure of meeting in real life. One of the people responsible for what I think is the premier arm wrestling league out of Australia right now, the AWE. He's also quite prolific in the arm wrestling content creation scene, with I think uploading quite frequently to his YouTube channel and various other social media. Please welcome Mr. Hollywood Matt Connelly. Hey, Matt.
So good to be here. Thank you, sir. It's fantastic to not only meet you in real life, but get to chat to you in person as well.
Yeah. It was really great meeting you, of course, in Ireland over in Arm Gods.
It was funny the way that you came up, because I didn't know who you were, obviously, but you've come up and you said, "Oh, do you know who I am?" And I was like, I recognize that voice. I know that voice from somewhere. It's like, the arm historian.
Yeah, actually, had the same reaction from Aussie arm wrestler. Yeah, and it's been great getting to meet some of the Australian people because, I think I wouldn't have a chance of meeting you otherwise. If something like this didn't happen relatively close to me, it would have taken years for me to be able to make my way over there, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No, I met so many amazing people over in Ireland. I'm so happy to go for that event, the Arm Gods event. And Marcus Thompson and Paul Maiden doing tremendous things with that organization. And so many people from around the world came along to that event, which was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, indeed. I loved going. I appreciate the guys for inviting me over, and getting to meet some people in real life was a real pleasure for me, of course. That being said, guys, I think we'll jump right into it. Most of you probably know the format. I'll go over it. For the sake of people who are new, and maybe also for Matt Connelly, I don't know how familiar you are with the Fantasy League up till this point.
I had a good look at the videos that you've done with Ryan and Jake, so it looks like a lot of fun.
Right. Okay. We'll jump over to the brackets, take a quick look at the standings here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of people sharing first place right now. They only have one win, but that's because I think they had buys at the start. We have 24 athletes in total. The entire outcome of the league is determined by you guys. You'll be voting in chat. I'll be putting up polls as we go along here, looking at every match. Today we'll be covering the losers round, the very first losers round. So these are people who've had one loss so far. And they'll be fighting for their chance to stay in because it is a double elimination tournament on the right arm, and every athlete will be in their all-time prime. And I think that about sums it up.
Sounds good.
Yes, let's take a quick look at what our first match is going to be here. It's going to be Richard Lupkes versus Taras Ivakin. Very interesting. Now, I'll remind you guys once again, we're talking about all-time prime. So, when would that be in Lupkes' case, I wonder?
Yeah, that's right. Well, the guy's been around for so long and has had such an illustrious career. It's hard to sort of pinpoint when his prime Lupkes, because I mean, what has he been, 30 something years in the sport? It's
I believe he started late 70s, if I'm remembering correct. Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. That's so long. That's longer than I've been alive. I was born in the 80s, so
yeah. He was around at like the dawn of competitive arm wrestling in a way, which has been around since 50s or 60s, depending on who you ask.
That's right. And what a monster of a man. Humongous forearms, and hanging with some of the elite in the arm wrestling world for decades, really. And it feels like at any point, when if he wants to come back and sort of get into it, he could be quite up at that top level again relatively quickly.
Yeah, probably. Although I don't know about right now. There's been some whisperings about comebacks from Richard Lupkes as of recently, but I don't know if any of them have come to fruition so far. Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's one of those things with this sport, isn't it? That you can retire, but you're never really retired. There's always the possibility of the comeback.
That's very true, though. Yeah, that's one of the things that first drew me to the sport. I think the fact that the longevity of it all is so appealing, and even if you start in your 30s or whenever, yeah, you still have a lot of time to improve and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's insane to think that you look at, say, the top 20 guys, the majority of them are over 40 and several of them over 50 years old. And it's like, what other combat sport or physically demanding sport where you've got to overpower an opponent do you have people that are they at their elite level in those age groups? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I can't think of any sport unless you want to classify chess as a sport, but definitely not comparable to arm wrestling.
Well, that's the thing with arm wrestling being so physical, and it seems to be that it takes that amount of time to build up the tendons and the ligaments and all of the structural facets.
Yeah.
And once you sort of solidify that in your frame, it just always stays there. It just seems to get more and more powerful as you get older, as opposed to just pure muscle belly. It seems to be based on like ligament strength, the tendon connection, and yeah, it's such an insane thing to think that this sport has that as its really unique point.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's a very good selling point too. I think if you boil it down to it for people who want to join the sport. That being said, I do think Taras Ivakin is one of those rare people who, from a quite early age and early on in his career, did very well in the competitive scene, despite maybe not having that ligament connection quite yet. But yeah, of course, also quite a legend in our sport in his own way. Not so much for longevity compared to Richard, at least, but for sure for the way he came onto the scene and, yeah, kind of dominated for a while there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the man's top roll was the best in the world. It was unbelievably strong, and he was hitting it on absolutely everyone. Yeah, a reign of dominance for Taras for probably a period of maybe 2 years where he was the man, and yeah, he sort of floated up to that point, became like the number one kind of guy you've got to beat to be known or to be recognized as, if you want to be like a world champion status. It's like, well, Taras is probably the best guy going around, especially in that weight division. But for me in this match, like if he was going against peak Richard Lupkes, I mean, Richard's just, he's basically almost twice Taras's size. The guy's an absolute monster. Taras being, 95, something like that, of kilos. Always got to think of what the conversion is, about 210 pounds or something.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you. I'm a kilos guy myself too, so yeah, no clue.
I always just think of the light heavyweight class in the UFC, which is 205 pounds and it's 93 kilos. So just add a little bit.
Sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, right now I think chat is largely agreeing with your last statements there about Richard Lupkes coming out victorious in this match. This does mean, dear viewers, that this will spell the end of Taras Ivakin if he doesn't come back within the next a little less than a minute. Because in case you didn't know, we're doing 5 minutes for each round, unless it's like a very overwhelming victory where it's, clear way more soon. Then we'll call it a flash pin.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's hard to go against Richard here, though. I mean, especially with Taras. Yeah, he just being too light against somebody who's an absolute giant in Richard Lupkes.
Yeah, I tend to agree here. I think Richard will take it, and it seems like most people in chat are agreeing. Dan John coming in with Lupkes all day. John Stone, on the other hand, coming in with chat knows nothing. So there you go. The Taras photos making themselves known.
Yeah, I guess if you don't know, like if you're not sure who the guy is, you're probably just going to go with the bigger guy.
That's true, though. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That being said, that's 5 minutes. This match is truly over. Sorry to Mr. Ivakin, but he'll be leaving the tournament, unfortunately. We'll move over to the brackets here real quick. Take a look at this match. Richard Lupkes, the winner. Congratulations. Moving on to our B-side round 2. But our next match here in round 1 of the losers side is Alex Kurdecha versus Wagner Bortolato.
Two super heavyweight guys. Wagner being known for animalistic passion when he gets to the table.
For sure.
Tends to grab hold of it, and if it's not bolted down, like with extra bolts, if you got to have a Wagner match, he's going to rip it out of the floor and throw it somewhere. The guy's like a raging demon when he comes out to the table.
Do you think our fantasy league table would survive looking at it?
Well, you would hope so. I mean, it's got the pillars there, so maybe that would be a bit heavier to lift out of the ground. But if it's Wagner, he wouldn't stop at nothing to destroy that.
Yeah. You never know. I think he could do it.
There's a video I've seen Wagner doing. It's lat pull down in the gym, and he's got the whole weight stack, and he's pulling so much and so hard that the whole machine does like a lap around the gym. Like
I've seen that one. Yeah,
that's so good.
Yeah, it is.
Kurdecha for me in this one, without hesitation, really. He's right at the pinnacle of the sport at the moment. He's in his prime. He's an absolute monster. He's gigantic. People are talking about him taking on Levan. So Wagner is definitely an elite arm wrestler, but he's more of, for me, like I watch him arm wrestle anytime he's on the table because it's entertaining. But as far as being in that absolute 1%, I haven't got him there.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially considering it's a right arm tournament. I have a hard time seeing Wagner. Although at his prime, he was good with the right arm as well. I think due to injury or something, as of recent, he isn't as good with his right. But still, I tend to agree with you here that Kurdecha would pretty comfortably take it.
Yeah, I mean, the last showing he had at East versus West, I mean, geez, the guy looked like he hadn't skipped a beat. And I mean, it was 9-10 months between matches for him up until that point. So we weren't sure what was going on, whether he was injured or something. But he came back bigger and stronger, which is insane when you're already like, whatever, 6'8" or something and 180 kilos.
Something crazy like that. Yeah, very true. Seems to be right back on top, indeed. And I think, chat largely agrees here with us, with 88% so far voting for Mr. Kurdecha to win here. Remember, chat viewers, if you're watching on your phone, you might have to open the little chat window in order to see the poll and in order to vote. Just a quick heads up there. Tall Paul Hutchings Jr. coming in with Matt versus Arm Historian at the next AWE. I don't know. I've seen some of Matt's recent footage. You've been uploading quite a bit of it, and it seems like you're in peak condition right now, peak physical condition. You're looking good on the table too.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, it's just trying hard, working hard in the gym all the time, but probably the last year, it's things have started to turn around a lot more, and I was happy and lucky enough to get some actual wins on the table over in the Arm Gods event when they had the tournament prior to the pay-per-view. I was 0-12 leading into that tournament, like no wins, 12 losses. So when I got that pin, the first pin, I was like confused. I was like, hang on. Wait a sec. Is this how it's supposed to happen? Like,
I do remember that feeling though of especially the first couple of tournaments I entered, especially the first one, I should say, of like, okay, so this is the actual level of people who do this frequently. I was taken aback a bit too, but just like you, I've managed to get my first couple of tournament wins not too long ago, so Yeah,
fantastic.
steadily improving as well.
Do people tend to know who you are, the man behind the arm, or is it do you like to keep that sort of well disguised?
People don't tend to know, no, especially at tournaments here and stuff. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would know me. Although I did get some comments on a video I shot at a local tournament here that I posted under Army Story, and I did get some comments of people saying I was at that tournament. I wish I could have met you. So, yeah. But I don't know.
That's
People
nice.
will
Yeah,
never recognize me like that. Like you said before, you didn't recognize me either, which makes sense.
not at all. It was only the voice, and it confused me when you said, because I was like, I know that voice, but who is this person?
Yeah. But it was nice. I had a very good night, by the way, there. Very nice tournament. Love to meet all the people there. Get to talk to you and Ryan Bowen quite a bit. So that was, quite
Oh, that's
enjoyed
awesome.
it.
Did you end up getting thumbtacks stuck in the bottom of your shoe?
I didn't. Luckily, yeah. I checked for them, but yeah, I didn't. What a match that was.
Yeah, that was just ridiculous. It was insane. But yeah, I didn't notice. I was realizing it as I was walking, but it's sort of one of those minor annoyances that you think, oh, I'll get to that later, because I was getting back to the airport and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got back to Australia I looked at the bottom of my shoe and there was like 6 thumbtacks.
Really? What?
Because they were all over the floor after the match.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, I didn't have any, luckily. But yeah, that is the end of this match, with Kurdecha taking it quite comfortably over Bortolato, as expected, with 89% of the votes here. Yeah, I think most people agreed with us there. A couple of holdouts, but pretty comfortable win for Kurdecha. Let's see what that does to the brackets here. I think that means that since Alex Kurdecha is the winner here, he's moving on to face Richard Lupkes in the next losers round, which we'll be covering next week. So that'll be an interesting one. Next up, we have this is an interesting one, actually. Next up, we have Ryan Bowen versus Scott Norton, and yes, your countryman Ryan Bowen made it into a tournament and actually managed to beat Dave Chaffee round 1. But is now facing Scott Norton. Scott Norton also, I was quite surprised making it in. I didn't know a lot about Scott Norton going into this tournament, but I did some research and I got corrected by a couple of chat members and people in the comments on Scott Norton. So I know a little bit more about him now. That being said, this matchup, I'm very interested in seeing what you guys think. And what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, they've voted for Ryan over Dave because it's funny. Like, it would never happen in real life. But it's the good fun thing about doing polls like this is that people can get on board with a silly idea and like make somebody that should never win a tournament win the tournament.
Yeah, true. So what you're saying is you want Ryan Bowen to win here?
Oh, it'd be funnier for me if he did, because I hadn't heard of Scott prior to watching your episodes on here, and so the only things I know is the information that you've explained, that he never lost to John Brzenk. He's an American guy who used to compete in tournaments, hasn't competed for quite a while, but apart from that, I haven't heard about him much at all.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people that have gotten into the sport recently, which I include myself in, knew a lot about Scott Norton. But I do think if you kind of look back at his kind of career, quote unquote, in arm wrestling, because he wasn't with us for a long time, I kind of understand why he's such an enigmatic figure to a lot of people still who have been in the sport for longer. He's a WWE guy, so he did wrestling. He came into arm wrestling, kind of dominated the scene with such quotes as John Brzenk never really bothered me on the table. I never really had any difficulties with him.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, he won. He actually won a lot of quite reputable tournaments. throughout the US. So he was, quite a formidable arm wrestler, strong guy. But he seemed to have left as quickly as he came onto the scene, as far as I could tell.
It is weird, isn't it? We've had that happen a few times with people that have just sort of burst into it, made a big splash, and then disappeared again.
Yeah.
Usually it's with people that have something else that's their number one priority. Like, look at somebody like Larry Wheels. It's like, okay, well, he had the powerlifting, bodybuilding background, and then he's found arm wrestling, jumped all in on arm wrestling for a couple of years, and then now he's headed back to doing his other stuff again. But it seems to be with people that have like another career or another athlete pathway that they may jump into arm wrestling for a bit, and then they'll head back to their main priority league.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of would classify Alexey Voyevoda under those people too, in that group. In a way, he never really went back to what he was doing, but he found something new that was perhaps more profitable or just something he enjoyed more.
Yeah, was it it's bobsleigh?
Yes, indeed it was. Yeah, it was. He went to the Olympics and actually won gold.
Yeah, that's right.
He was kind of forced to give it back though afterwards, but I don't think he ever did.
Oh, really? It was a failed drug test, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the big doping scandals. What was it, around 2012 or something, or it was like the Sochi Winter Olympics.
Yeah. Well, what is this? Have you heard about this other thing that this guy wants to do? What is the drug Olympics?
I have heard something about it. Yeah, but not in detail.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, it's more of a passing idea as opposed to an actual legitimate thing that people are going to try to do. But I think it's headed there regardless. I just think it's just going to come a point where people can manipulate their genetic biology so much that it's just unrecognizable. There isn't a way to, and it's like, oh, just fine, do it.
Yeah, for sure. I do think you're right in that at a certain point, imagine bionics and stuff like that, and having like robot arms pull for you. It's maybe an extreme case, but you can make that argument that that's where it's going eventually.
I mean, if you look at Todd Hutchings having, what has he got? He's got a metal rod in his arm or something instead of the bone.
I've heard that. Is that true? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've just heard that as well, and I'm not sure which bone it is, whether it's a forearm or whether it's a humerus. But
right.
Yeah, and it may actually be blown out of proportion, and it's like how people just expand the story, and it was like he had the screw in one of the things, but now it's like his whole arm is made of metal.
Yeah. It's evolved into its own thing. Muscle Bike is using his member super chat here to say, imagine arm historian and Matt pulling at arm gods. Well, I'd be down to pull Matt anytime. It doesn't have to be in a competitive setting necessarily. I'd be down to pull Matt anytime. I think there is a slight weight discrepancy, but I don't think that would make a big difference, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't care. You can be as heavy as you want or light as you want. It'd just be more fun for me.
I'm definitely up there. You've seen me in real life, so I'm definitely up there.
No, it's with anybody who wants to have a match or just get on the table. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's fun. Win, lose, or draw. Well, I guess there is no draws, but win or lose, it's always fun to go up and get on the table.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have a very similar mindset in that regard. That being said, it is the end of the match. Ryan Bowen has taken the win over Scott Norton with 71% of the votes, and will be moving on in the tournament.
There you go. I bet he's going to win the whole thing. People are just going to think it's going to be funny, and they'll let him.
That might be the case. Yeah, that might be the case. I kind of thought since like we had a little fewer people in chat, maybe they would be a little more sensible with their votes and maybe vote Scott Norton, but no, unfortunately, not the case. Yeah, Ryan Bowen, moving on. Well done, Ryan. Uh, next match is Krasimir Kostadinov versus Matt Mask, the Wild Horse.
Yeah.
What's Krasimir's nickname? Do you know? Does he have one?
KK.
A little too close to another K being added there, maybe. But
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
It's only two. No, but Krasie, I guess. Krasie is probably what you would get nicknamed. But yeah, this I'm actually quite interested to see how people vote here, because Matt Mask is highly popular because of his style, and regardless as to whether or not I think he would win this match, which I don't think he would. I think Krasimir would win it, but I think that the popularity that he holds, because he's such a character, and when he comes out to that table, it's like a steam train has just arrived, and it's like a ball of fury is walking towards the table, and yeah, his face is red, his hair's all scraggly, and he's ready to like murder somebody, and yeah, it's just absolutely wild to watch.
Yeah, he might. I could see him winning the popular vote here for sure. Yeah, I don't know what. I think a lot of people will have a little bit of recency bias, maybe, since I think Matt Mask won their most recent match versus each other. I think Matt Mask took that. I think they had one in Canada, a super match not too long ago.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt winning the real match.
Yeah, Matt won then, but I don't know in their prime, because I've seen Krasimir beat some people in his prime that I think could, beat Matt Mask quite easily. So, yeah, I do have to give it to Krasimir too in their primes. But that being said, there is a version of Matt Mask that can be the version of Krasimir, because he recently did so. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Where would you put prime Matt Mask? Maybe at the WAL?
Probably, right? That's where he seemed at his most impressive. Maybe at around when he was facing Hermes at the WAL. Yeah, probably somewhere around there, I think. Krasimir, though, to me is a lot harder to pinpoint exactly.
Yeah, he's been a little down as of late, but he's still up in that elite level. But he's just dipped out of that top fraction of the 1%.
Mm-hmm. Talking about being natural, Krasimir, one of the people most vocal throughout arm wrestling history, kind of talking about being natural and the boons of being natural, and the necessity of having tested leaks. Very vocal proponent of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those questions, isn't it, as to, do you want to spend money in the sport on drug testing, or do you want to make the sport bigger and more entertaining?
Yeah. Are we at that level yet where we can afford to do that? I don't quite think so, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I know that they've got in the amateur league here, they have introduced testing. I think they run under the WAF thing, and they do a test at the nationals, but I think there's only one or two that they can actually afford to do, because it does cost a lot of money.
Right, yeah. I don't think you're very likely to get caught anytime soon when entering an arm wrestling tournament, even if it is somehow sanctioned or something by WAF.
Yeah, even exactly then. Right.
Yeah. Whether or not it should be the case going forward, or it should be something we should strive for, I don't think we can quite answer that very complicated question during this live stream, unfortunately. But it is interesting to talk about, nonetheless.
Yeah, that's for sure. Have you got a favorite Matt Mask moment at all?
A favorite Matt Mask moment? He's kind of in the same sense as that I like Wagner Bortolato pulling. He's kind of also a very quote-unquote destructive presence on the table. I think maybe when he went over to the crowd, to a crowd member during WAL, and asked him to relocate his finger after he got dislocated. Yeah,
That's
I think
right.
that's one of
Yeah,
my favorite moments. Yeah. What about you?
that is good. Absolutely, for sure. Probably when he, it's not a good moment for him, but it gets stuck in my head. Is when he'd lost to Devon, and then Devon like put his hand on Matt's back or something, and Matt's like, "Don't effing touch me!" Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that one. That's a very good one too. Yeah. A lot of the Devon Matt interactions are priceless.
yeah, such an entertaining moments between the two of them, and Matt got a pin on him as well. So
Yeah, very true.
he wasn't completely blown out the water. I mean, it was insane at that point in time because Devon's endurance was known as his complete and utter weapon. If you got a stop on you, he was just going to hold you there until you got exhausted. And then Matt Mask, he would hit off the go, and if he got stopped, he would just lift his elbow 3 times in a row,
Yeah. Indeed,
just to
yeah, I
lose the
remember
round.
that
He's
one
like,
too.
I'm
He
not going to
actually
be wasting
counted
my
them
energy
down,
on
I
this.
think.
Well, it's pretty close here in the poll.
Yeah, very close. 44 to 56. That is 5 minutes past, so I do have to call it here. But yeah, very close win for Matt over Krasimir. Interesting, very interesting result. I would have not expected Krasimir to go out quite as soon, but it is what the people have chosen.
It is almost, you could say, a more of a popularity contest in a way.
Yeah, for sure it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I make yeah. I never thought anything different. To be fair, I do ask the people to be as objective as they can possibly be, or at least want to be, and that's all I can expect from them. Really,
Yeah, that's it.
Matt
So
Mask takes the win, and
man,
Krasimir goodbye. Unfortunately, that does mean the next opponent of Ryan Bowen has been decided, and it will be Matt Mask.
well, the unstoppable Ryan Bowen in this tournament, although
Yeah,
he's in the losing bracket so far.
yeah, and it'll be two quote unquote popular people together. Yeah. Genadi Kvikvinia versus Kydyrgali Ongarbayev is our next match.
Yeah, this will be interesting actually as well to see what the poll on the chat chooses here. Both guys, unless you're sort of keeping up with East versus West and the European side, you may not be fully aware of who these guys are. But Ongarbayev especially is one of the absolute elites and was sort of sitting in that 105 kilo weight class and potentially could have been the number one for a period of time. Just an absolute monster and super fast. And he's got that crazy Kazakhstan style where they just go off the start instant to the pad as fast as they possibly can. But yeah, Kvikvinia as well is a veteran in this this sort of bracket. And you look at the two of these guys and you say, well, it's hard to sort of pick a winner here because they're both such similar styles in terms of that explosive hit, and they're both so well rounded. Yeah, I think it may come down to personal preference for people because we did see Ongarbayev take a loss last night, or yesterday actually, whenever it was.
Yep.
That's,
Yeah, I think most people here will lean towards, as the polls are showing, Kvikvinia just because, yeah, they're operating at different weight classes right now, and I think that plays a lot in people's minds. Although Ongarbayev very famously, yeah, could hang with a lot of the top super heavyweight guys in the world in his prime.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kvikvinia has the lead in the poll at the moment.
Yeah, he does. We'll see if something changes. Randy Marsh's popularity contest. Yeah, in a way it is. In a way it is Randy Marsh. Randy Marsh also said, can we have an arm reveal from the arm historian? That is actually my actual arm you're seeing on screen right now. That's not just some stock arm. It is actually my arm.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I went the extra mile there.
I
Devon
like
called
how
out.
you've animated.
What? Sorry?
I like how you animated it so that it moves like you're talking with.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I try to give people something to look at least. I saw someone earlier asking here, does Matt think arm historians should do a face reveal? What do you think,
That's
Matt?
right. I think maybe you're at 7,500 subscribers at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on what you want to do, but maybe it could be an opportunity for people to subscribe to your channel. If you said, "Hey, look, 10,000, you get to see more than just the arm." But
Right.
yeah,
I I like the way
maybe
you
show
put
a leg.
that. I'll advertise it like that, more than just the arm, and then I can reveal a toe or something like that.
That's right. It's the other arm.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. You've
Uh,
cracked the code to get to 10K subs there.
yeah, that's right. Well, you're doing well. I've always enjoyed your videos. They're all very well researched and presented. And yeah, anybody that has seen your content, obviously, you've got 7,000 subscribers. You're doing fantastic work. And yeah, even when we were just chatting at Arm Gods, and you were asking about AWE, and
Mm-hmm.
I think you're mentally taking notes in case you were going to do a video at some point. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I was very clearly. I actually converted them into not so mental notes onto an actual document for future reference.
Oh,
Yeah, because I do think AWE is definitely worthy of doing a video on, at least.
all right.
Yeah, for sure. I think the production value of AWE blows me out of the water every time. So I really like the octagon. All the matches happening over there. I like the backdrop of that a lot. It's unfortunate
Yeah.
that you guys are so isolated because, I think if you were like located in the middle of the world, somewhere very easy to go to for a lot of people, I think would be definitely good for you guys. So it's unfortunate that you're all the way over there.
Well, that's part of the challenge for us, is to try to get attention in any way we can. And yeah, we were lucky enough to be able to partner up with the Diamondback Fighting Championship with the MMA organization.
Awesome.
Dave Stockbridge, who's one of the owners of AWE, his best mate is the owner of that MMA organization. So they had set up ready with the octagon and the production crew and the cameras and everything for their MMA show at night. But they had already set the stuff up the day before, so the thing was just going to be sitting there all day with a crew, with everything there. And it's like, can we just go in and do our arm wrestling event with all your stuff? Like, yeah, sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That definitely upped the production value, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was incredible to have like a proper production crew and just say, look, this is what we want. I basically just ran them through the camera angles, and it was like, stay with the front on camera no matter what. And if you
Yeah.
need to do any other changes, or like wait until the round is finished, then you can have a look at changing and looking at what else is going on. But I don't want the camera to change from that angle when we start the match. Because you see that so often with different organizations. The guys are getting set up, they're about to start, and then they get a shot of the crowd for a little while. It's
Yeah,
like, what are you
yeah.
doing?
Yeah, I
Go
know.
back to the
Panning away
big
from the
match.
action. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
indeed.
but yeah, to have people that knew what they were doing, the professionals, and they were able to stream HD 1080p, and we never had to worry about doing any of that side of it, setting up mics, any of that stuff. So yeah, I would highly recommend getting a pro production crew that's involved in, see if you can find one that does MMA, because they seem to
Yeah.
work well for us.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys could make use of that. Um the match has ended in the meanwhile with Genadi Kvikvinia very comfortably beating Kydyrgali Ongarbayev with 71% of the votes. So Genadi will be moving on here. I think we have 2 matches left if you're good to still keep going, Matt. Or no, I think we have 3 left. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, Genadi, Kvikvinia winning the match here. Moving on, Michael Todd versus Dave Chaffee.
Oh, I love this one. This is
Yeah,
an
me too.
entertaining match because
Yep.
you're talking prime Michael Todd and prime Dave Chaffee.
Yep.
Oh, it's tough because Michael Todd in his prime, I mean, he's sort of his prime years would have been WAL with the longer pads with that King's move when he was the first sort of guy that was really implementing it and using it effectively. But then you've got easy money Dave Chaffee, who is just an absolute powerhouse. Although he has seemed to always have issues with endurance, and he's so strong on that first one or two hits, and then it just starts to die very, very quickly. And the longer that the match goes, the less he seems to have in the tank. But this is a tournament, so if he was able to steamroll through the earlier rounds, or he's in the losers bracket now, that's one of those things that this match, like if it was a proper tournament, this match would wipe out both these guys because whoever wins is going to be absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, so true. Because like you said, maybe Dave Chaffee is lacking a little bit in the gas tank, and against a prime Michael Todd, I could definitely see that mattering. But then, Dave Chaffee, we think of Dave Chaffee as not an endurance athlete, but then these crazy matches like versus Lalatin and stuff prove that he has something. He has something in the gas tank.
That's right. Yeah, he absolutely pulled it out, and that was one of the best matches I've ever seen. That one, there was blood left on the handles of the tables, and it was an absolute war. But it does seem that, regardless as to that incredible match, there's been so many times where he's come out the gate looking unstoppable, and then somebody gets a stop on him, or there's a few fouls and some restarts, and it's just like 20% of his power every start, and then by the time they've gone into the third or fourth round, he's breathing heavy. It looks like all of his power and speed is gone. So it's tough, especially against someone like Michael Todd, who's going to be dragging the match out and making you exhausted.
True.
It's a tournament. It's only first to one pin. Man, that's tough. That's a tough one to call.
Yeah, it is. White Wolf is saying Prime Dave without injury slays DMT. DMT.
DMT.
Delusional Michael Todd, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Right.
Dan John is saying MMT would have to bleed Dave out. That's true. Probably. I don't think Michael Todd can jump in on the press and I get through Dave. I think that would be a mistake on Michael's part, trying that. Topal says, I like them both, but I have to say Prime Dave ekes out the win. And right now they're dead even in the poll, so get your votes in.
Yeah, 50-50. Well, yeah, I mean, that's sort of where I am as well, because to me, this comes down to that first surge from Dave Chaffee. If he gets the pin, he's going to win, obviously. But if he gets stopped, I think then Michael's going to win. I think it comes down to that. Literally, that first attack from Dave, whether it goes through or whether it doesn't, is going to be the story of the match.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. That's what it's all going to hinge upon. In the meanwhile, we have a super chat from one Spermies, someone who I had the pleasure of meeting and even housing with at Ireland at Armwrestlers. Said it doesn't get any better on my first day off, spending it with arm historian and Matt Hollywood.
All right.
I thank you, Spermies. Matt giving you awesome bicep flex there, yeah. He is a really great guy. Talked with him quite a bit too. Kind of ran the house for us in a way. Was kind of the only responsible guy there. White Wolf says, might be up to you guys to make the call. It's 50-50 now. Yeah, it has changed with MMT having 53% of the votes. Remember, Dave Chaffee got here in this predicament thanks to one Ryan Bowen defeating him in the first round. Take that into consideration. Do with that information what you will, chat. It does seem like Monster Michael Todd is eking out to win, indeed.
Yes, he's 53% at the moment. I think it's a 1 vote in it.
Yep,
but
it must be.
Yeah, maybe it was just enough to get that stop.
Yeah. It's 50-50 again here.
SA donated 13 Canadian dollars and 99 cents
Somebody
through
signed up with
Super
their Russian
Chat.
account.
It doesn't get any better on my first day off.
Now Dave
Spending
Chaffee
it
is
with
winning.
and
Now
Matt
it's 50-50
Hollywood.
again.
Thumbs
Yeah,
up,
very close
flex
match,
biceps,
obviously.
folded hands, collision.
Wow.
Cool
What does
face.
it do if it does go to 50-50? Do we make the call?
Yeah, maybe, right? What I did previously is I let it go on until one or the other happens, right? The next vote decides it. Yeah, that's how I did it last time. Yeah, and I think we have to do that here too with MMT taking the win with 53% of the votes at the 5-minute mark.
Wow.
So, yeah, there you go. Really close match. Hello there, Phil Woody, jumping into the chat. KL says Prime Chaffee took Dennis to his most intense Kings move. He would just go through MMT. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening, but chat thought otherwise here with Michael Todd taking a very narrow win over Dave Chaffee. Yeah, which means we have to say goodbye to Dave Chaffee, and Michael Todd is moving on to face Genadi Kvikvinia in the second losers round. And then right now we have Cleve Dean versus Todd Hutchings. 2 thoughts in a row here.
That's right. Cleve Dean being another absolute giant and monster of a man. I believe he was a farmer full time, and he just did arm wrestling for fun.
Yep.
But he was just so massive and heavy. He would just get into a press and nobody could move his body weight out the way.
Yeah, indeed. And I think you can kind of tell by the picture I chose here for him. I think this would have been a prime Cleve Dean, right? You see pictures of him when he was younger and wasn't quite as bulky as he was there, but I think he's still young enough there to have some mobility on the table and use that massive frame and weight.
That photo is terrible. It looks like a massively obese guy in that photo. His legs look like
he was. He was at some point, but he could still, do stuff on the table. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, it's pretty hard to pick against the guy that humongous, who's known for using his weight in a press movement. And you've got somebody like Todd Hutchings, who is a phenomenal arm wrestler, but he's not a super heavyweight. And we've seen how even prime Todd Hutchings going up in weight and facing guys like Devon Larratt and in that realm, as soon as he sort of puts his toe in that super heavyweight arena, he still holds his own, but he does tend to lose the matches. So this is a pretty tough one to pick against Cleve Dean here, but he may get the win, Todd, because he's a popular guy. But I think
it does look
Travis
like
White Wolf donated $13.98 through Super Chat. Wolf.
I think some other arm wrestlers hold that same
without
opinion.
trying to upstage him.
White Wolf coming in with with a super chat here, saying, I second Spermy's statement without trying to upstage him. Aru. Thank you, White Wolf. That's very generous of you. I never ask for super chats. You don't have to. Never feel compelled to send them, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Jude Dubois, a long-time viewer, coming in with his monthly member message saying, I missed all the tournament. Did Matt Mask win? Yes, Matt Mask did win over Krasimir Kostadinov, I believe, right? I think he took the match in the end, there you go, Jude. I know that would make you very happy, so it happened. Very narrowly. Close match.
These have all been pretty close, apart from one of the earlier ones that we had. But yeah, all of these matches, they've picked a good field of competitors here.
Yeah, the field was picked by. I posted on all my social media, on community tab during live streams. I've asked the chatters, so basically everyone was picked completely by the viewers too. On Discord, a lot of people voted. So yeah, every single participant has been chosen by you guys too. As will the outcome of this tournament will also be chosen by you guys.
Did you see that there was a boat that it was in the UK and they ran like a popularity contest thing?
Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface.
yes.
And then they had Trainee McTrainface as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I should have maybe let the chat decide the title of the tournament as well. Would have been a better name, maybe.
Well, this is fun. I mean, this is, you're looking at all-time prime, and that's sort of the argument that people like to make. If there's an arm wrestler that's currently, like, say, John Brzenk now, I mean, he's still a phenomenal arm wrestler, but he's not prime John Brzenk, which is when he was absolutely crushing everyone around the world. That's what's fun about having these hypothetical discussions, is people that may not be alive anymore, people that are well retired, or people who have moved on to other things. It's like, well, you could say, yeah, but when they were at their absolute best versus this guy when he was at his absolute best, and it's like, oh, that makes it more interesting.
Yep, it's basically schoolyard discussions, right?
Yeah,
in the most fun way, to me at least. Yeah, I think it's a very close match now. At first, Todd Hutchings was clearly winning, but now it's a 45-55 split between them. In favor of Todd Hutchings still.
I think that it's probably the popularity of Todd that's getting through here. Not that many people would be familiar with Cleve Dean, but I think if they had an understanding of how strong and dominant this guy was, then you would never pick Todd in this matchup.
Yeah. Interestingly, I do believe, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad or Matt, I do believe Todd Hutchings won against Cleve Dean, and there's footage of it at a certain point. But I know Cleve Dean wasn't in his prime anymore. But Todd Hutchings does have a win on Cleve Dean, if I'm not mistaken, in a pretty big tournament.
Spermies is saying that. Yes, he says that Todd has a win on him, but Prime Cleve, Todd doesn't win. The win Todd had on him was when Cleve was already in his later career.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I do remember seeing footage of it. A big tournament in a bar somewhere, if I remember correctly. Yeah, interesting. Todd Hutchings does win here, booting Cleve Dean from the tournament with 55% of the votes, which is quite an upset. I think, to me at least.
And maybe it's that metal arm that he's got.
Yeah, it might have been that. It might have been the kicker there. Good that you brought that piece of information up.
That's right. I don't know who told me that. Somebody said his bone got replaced by a piece of metal, like
I read
steel.
Yeah, I read something like that too. Indeed, that he had something put in there. But I don't know. Maybe he's strong enough for it. Todd Hutchings does take the win here and moves on. And he will be facing either one of our losers here of our last round of the day, which is Artyom Morozov versus Ivan Matyushenko. Which is very similar to a recent match, right?
I think it might be. But that was on left hand.
Yeah, only a different arm, indeed.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, what was it, maybe 20 hours ago or something?
Yeah, something like that, indeed. So, quite a coincidence here.
That's right. Left-handed match between Matyushenko and Morozov there, but it was a 4-1 win for Morozov.
Yep, indeed. But yeah, I do think Matyushenko wasn't without a chance in the match at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, he was definitely in it.
Yep.
It was a long match. Like, I think it seems to be the case that with pay-per-views, that the last match, it's like you've sort of been watching for 5 hours or something, and then the last match just goes forever.
Yeah, that's very true. Happens a lot.
There was so many restarts and fouls, and like I was doing the live commentary for it, and I would call a pin because referees had called a pin, and then a second later it was like, oh, hang on, no, it's not a pin, it's a foul. They're restarting it again, and that happened over and over and over. It's like, I don't know if he's been pinned or not.
Yeah, there was some major confusion there going on. Yeah, I watched it with a couple of friends, and we were very confused as well.
Yeah, yeah. It was difficult and frustrating because you'd see the match start, a pin would be awarded to somebody, they'd walk away, and then they'd come back and they're starting up again in the same position, and somebody has an elbow foul, and it's like, well, why is that a foul? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, very true. Were a couple of weird calls, and yeah, I don't think there was a lot of, well, I don't want to put it down too much, but I don't think there could have been more communication between the people organizing it clearly and the people like doing the overlays and stuff. Could have been made a lot more clear that there would have been a rule change too, because I didn't hear about like a different rule set for the last match until the match was actually happening.
Yeah, they
had different rule sets.
That's right. Yeah, for the King's move, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think in some attempt to unify East versus West, thinking of the table rule sets a little more, so the title matches would actually carry over. At least that's what I made of it.
And so if your shoulder dips below, your opponent gets to slap you. Is that how it works now?
I think so, yeah. And then we're right at a X arm, right? Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the X arm.
Yeah. The most recent King of the Tomb was the worst, says White Wolf.
Yes, it was in my chat for the live. I think we were both getting a bit frustrated with the constant restarts and fouls and calls, but I think the event as a whole, I mean, it's great to see these guys get up on the table anytime, but things could have been improved in terms of the time in between. Like all the setups and the guys wandering away, and it's like, stop. It's like they go from negotiated grip, and then it's like, all right, we'll give you 30 seconds to mess around. They mess around. All right, we're going to ref script. Both the guys just walk off.
Yeah.
Where are you going? I'm going to go over here and talk to this guy.
Yeah, it was so blatant during the Revas match at a certain point. I kind of noticed them. They slipped. And then between the slip and actually putting the strap on was like a minute and a half or something of like Revas putting on chalk and kind of breathing heavily. Really weird.
Yeah, well, I mean that's part of the different organizational structures, isn't it? That you look at something like the MAC that was 2 weekends ago, that really sped a lot of those things up and made changes where the action just flows a lot faster. It was great to watch that. I mean, there were 7 matches on the King of the Table card just gone on Saturday night. And I think it was 3 and a bit hours to get through that. Whereas with MAC, they had 13 matches in 2.5 hours. And they had 2 big delays when they went offline. So there's a big difference in terms of the amount of matches that they could get through and get on and keep the entertainment going. But with King of the Table, and it's always been that way. I mean, that's their style, is very strict on their setups and they take their time. But it was just a little frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I get that. I think especially for a sport like arm wrestling, it's important to get to the action, right? And I think, in a way, I think league should strive to cut that down to a minimum. The dull moments. You have to be realistic, of course, with giving your athletes some time to rest between rounds. But Yeah, I think a lot of the wasted air, so to speak, or wasted time can be minimized even further.
Yeah, it's one of those other things. I'm really not a fan of the 6th round, regardless, because we had so many matches that took place on Saturday night where somebody would get up to 4-0. So the match has been won, and then they've got 2 rounds where they're just completely pointless, and they either don't pull them or they get in and they just sort of goof around and they try some different, let's start in a hook, let's do some weird start, or I'll let you work and I'll do this. It's like, why even have this? It's so silly. It should just be first to 4, and you get to 4, you're the winner. That's it. Why have 2 extra rounds that are completely pointless?
Yeah, that's so true. You have to give some value to the people's time, the people who are watching it. You have to place some value on their time too. And I don't care much for 6 rounds either. I'd prefer to see the best out of 5, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I've always liked the first to 4 because it allows the person who has the endurance side of things to gives them more ability to find moments where they can make a comeback or adjust. Yeah.
I can see that definitely, and I would be for that if the time, like I said, if the time in between was cut short just a little more, then I would be all for it. At the end of the day, it does come down to as much arm wrestling as I can. Like, I just want as much arm wrestling as they can fit into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got this poll is finished, isn't it?
Yeah, it is finished with Morozov taking the win here. Pretty convincingly over Matyushenko, with 61% of the votes. So well done, Artyom Morozov. Take a look at the brackets, and then we'll take a look at what that does to our standings of the tournament so far. Well done, Morozov, taking the win here. Goodbye to Ivan Matyushenko, unfortunately. Coming up next week, we have our second losers round here with Richard Lupkes versus Alex Kurdecha, Ryan Bowen versus Matt Mask, Genadi Kvikvinia versus Michael Todd, Todd Hutchings versus Artyom Morozov, and then we'll continue in the round 3 of our winners bracket, with John Brzenk versus Travis Bajent, and Hermes Gasparini versus Alexey Voyevoda, Devon Larratt versus Vitaly Laletin, and Denis Iplenkov versus Andrei Pushkar. So a lot to look forward to there.
Absolutely, there's some incredible matches there, and that Denis Iplenkov and Andrei Pushkar one's going to be tight.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple of really good ones in there. A couple of matches that I would have liked to see, but unfortunately, we'll never be able to see them. I'll quickly see if someone has anything left to say in chat for Mr. Matt Connelly here. I do appreciate you taking the time to be here with me, Matt Connelly, and to be here with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolutely. Privilege to be on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Even though you had to get up at, 6 a.m., I think, or something like that. Some unspeakable hour like that.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning that I...
Really?
Right now it's 5:30.
Holy, okay, yeah, that's... Okay, thank you again, Matt Connelly. That's crazy. I really appreciate it. Australia has come true for me in a big way here with the Fantasy League. I think chat appreciates you guys too. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. You guys are also knowledgeable and so forthcoming with giving up your time and being here. If you have anything to plug, Matt, go right ahead. I do think you're uploading quite frequently to your YouTube channel these days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we got the YouTube. So every week we have training sessions at the SA Titans Club here in Adelaide. Normally get some great footage from that, which I'll cut either funny moments or just interesting matches or interesting moments and put those up on the channel. But yeah, AWE, we've got lots of things in the works, and so the AWE Grand Prix was a couple months ago now, but we're looking at potentially doing 3 more events before the end of the year. So we've got lots of things lined up and ready to go with AWE as well.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. A lot. I'll be keeping a very close eye on AWE and on your other endeavors, Matt Connelly, because whatever you do, I think will do very well.
Thanks so much. It's so good to be in this community. Everyone in this arm wrestling world has been so wonderful. And I get to talk to the amazing people in the chat and people like yourself. And I go to the club and hang out with awesome people there, and we all work together to try to get better. And it's just an absolutely amazing sport.
Yeah, I agree. The more people I get to know, the more I love the sport of arm wrestling because of how great those people are. Matt, I'll let you go. Maybe catch some sleep. I'll do a quick debrief with chat here, catch up on a couple of messages, and I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks once again.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye. See you. Okay, chat. That's Mr. Matt Connelly gone. Awesome guest, I think. I think you'll agree there. Thank you all for being here. I'll stay online for a couple minutes more. Those Aussie guys are freaking crazy for getting up that early. I swear, I offered to put the live stream on at a more manageable hour, but they all insisted to come on at the usual hour, and just like early morning for them. Let me just put on some music really quickly, chat, so my own voice doesn't drive me crazy. Muscle Bikes says, huge thanks to the Arm Historian and to Hollywood Matt Connelly. Yes, give some praise to Matt for sure. Go check his stuff out if you haven't already. I'll be editing all of these live streams down into a more digestible video after the Fantasy League is over. So yeah, that'll definitely give you something to look forward to in that regard too. Let me quickly get a couple of songs playing here. What do you think of King of the Table, by the way, chat? I'd love to see some opinions on that. Whoa, Nelly. Sorry, must have been quite loud. My apologies. Dan John says, excellent show, Arm Historian. Thank you so much, Dan John. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm really enjoying these Fantasy League live streams. Getting to know some of the people in arm wrestling better, like Mr. Hollywood Matt Connelly has been great. It's actually one of the people I talked to the longest, apart from my housemates at Arm Gods. Really cool guy. Hey, Arm Wrestling for Nerds coming in at the tail end of the stream here. Just rounding off the Fantasy League. Had the pleasure of having Matt Connelly on. White Wolf says the reffing was hard to ignore. Yeah, that's something I'm seeing a lot. Kind of agree in some cases. Muscle Bike says King of the Table made me realize how much fun Arm Gods is. Spermy says, Arm Historian, you are killing it. Love your channel. I appreciate it, Spermies. We had a smaller crowd than usual today for the Fantasy Leagues, but yeah, I'm so grateful for you guys turning up in the numbers that you did and supporting this, and I hope you actually had some fun in the process. As much fun as I had while doing this, right? Because I love it, regardless of how many people are in chat. It's still really fun to me. Roy Left Ari says fantastic matches. Event was a library. 7 out of 10 for me. We need noise, excitement. They need to pay attention to that more. Yeah, I do agree. I think the crowd setting of East versus West, their last few editions, has been trumping that of King of the Table by quite a bit there. Medieval Dead says, I really want to love Arm Gods, but the production just isn't doing it for me. I bet it's a blast live though. Yeah, that's a valid opinion to have. I was there live and I enjoyed it a lot. Like the tournament itself was, yeah, a blast to be, right? So yeah, I enjoyed Arm Gods. I put my honest opinion of the the tournaments they did before into a video, so it's there for you to view. I think I wasn't negative or anything. I like any league that is trying something new and differentiating itself, and yeah, just anyone who's putting on a league for arm wrestling, yeah, is doing a good thing in my book. In any case, there's always kinks to iron out, right? But yeah. I loved it live. That's what I'll say. Dan John says the matchmaking at King of the Table needs to change. Too many whitewashes. Yeah, maybe. Although, to be fair, I do think a lot of people before the matches actually happened, I think a lot of people thought they were good matchups. So I think, yeah, based on the results, you're right. But I do think a lot of people were saying they were good matchups before they actually happened. Because a lot of them were upsets, right? So it's gotta tell you something. Medieval Dead says WAL environment and production is still the pinnacle of the sport, in his opinion. Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. I think WAL is a great vessel for new people to get into the sport. For new people to get excited about the sport, because WAL was very character focused and it gave the people there, the athletes there, a lot of time and a lot of room to pull. You know what I mean? Not a lot of fouls were called quite as quickly. Matches could keep going for a long time. Way bigger pads, more lenient in the rule set. Stuff like that kind of facilitated what I think is maybe for a newer person to the sport, might be a more enjoyable viewing experience. So yeah, I can see what you're saying there. Roy Left Ari says, I don't think those whitewashes were expected. Yeah, indeed. White Wolf says, Arm God's atmosphere is off the charts and the matches are super intense and they are competitive. You want to lose an audience outside of arm wrestling fans and athletes, then turn to King of the Table and East versus West. I don't mind King of the Table and East versus West quite as much as you, White Wolf. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think it's important to have a wide variety of tournaments being able to exist for exactly this reason, right? Some people might not like King of the Table or East versus West as much, and they might like something like Arm Gods more, or vice versa. So I think it can only be a benefit to the sport if more leagues can place themselves into a position where they can thrive, right? Then John says, Arm Historian, yeah, I didn't see Paul beat Lucky like that. Yeah, I think that was a big one, right? That a lot of people thought, yeah, would go the other way. I agree there. I thought so too, to be honest, but yeah, I was rooting for both guys in a way. I like both of them. Had more communication with Paul Lynn, so probably was rooting for him just a little more. But I did think Lucky would take it coming down from the weight he was at. Medieval Dead says, I admit I'm still very much a newbie to the sport in terms of the depth it has. Yeah, to a degree, I think we're all kind of newbies still. It's just that a lot of arm wrestling history, if you're talking about depth in that way, a lot of arm wrestling history just wasn't documented that well throughout time. But if you're talking about in a technical way, yeah, I think that's one of the things arm wrestling has going for it. There's so many levels on which you can appreciate it, depending on your own skill level, kind of. Or not necessarily depending on your own skill level, but depending on how much you watch the sport, there's always like new levels to it. Yeah. Which is one of the things that I really like. White Wolf says, Arm Historian, I wish they were better. I wish they were trying to appeal to a wider audience. Yeah, I get that part, for sure. I think a wide appeal is necessary, for sure. I think, yeah, that's what I'll say about it. Musclebike says, Arm gods care about each individual fan of the sports, whereby core sports aren't personable in the slightest. Yeah, I can see that, but there's more people than core sports alone behind East versus West End. Because say what you will about Engin Terzi, which you can say a lot about Engin Terzi, but he still cares for the sport pretty clearly, right? Whether or not you agree with his stance on certain things or the way he handles things, I think it's hard to deny, or it's hard to take the position of Engin not caring for the sport. I do think he does genuinely want what's best for the sport, and he thinks East versus West is what'll make that happen. Whether or not I agree with that is pretty irrelevant, I think. Whether or not it will actually be the way forward remains to be seen. But I do think, at the end of the day, Engin Terzi cares about the sport of arm wrestling. Remember, I'm saying these things on the back of having done a lot of research on Engin Terzi during the past 2 months. And yeah, there's a lot there. But you know me, most of you do. I do speak my mind. I don't think I'll hold back in any way when I finally do release my video on him. Roylev Ari says East versus West 14 will be off the charts. The card is crazy. Only complaint I have is no female fights. That's not smart. Yeah, I do hope we get more female fights. I want to get excited about female pullers in a non-sexual way. You know what I mean, chat? I'm not trying to be dirty here. I want to get excited about female pullers in a way where I care about the outcome of their matches more. I'm just preempting that with a warning, because I know your heads will be in the gutter right away if I use exciting and female pullers in the same sentence. Dan John says that's the problem. He only cares for the sport, not the fans. Yeah, I think that's maybe true, Dan John. Medieval Dead says, yeah, I'm more critical of Arm Gods due to its potential. I take East versus West and King of the Table for what they are. Yeah, I can see that mindset, and I think that's a pretty healthy mindset to have. Yeah. And I think how you deal with criticism is important, right? I think that's also one of the things that people maybe hold against Engin the most. Is their perceived inability of him dealing with criticism, right? Which I can definitely see. Yeah. I won't make excuses for that. I can definitely see that. Spermy says Engin is an arm wrestling legend. He's done a lot for arm wrestling in East versus West, but he's a nutcase when it comes to his followers and trolls. Yeah, he lets his emotions get the better of him. Sometimes, for sure. Hollywood Matt Connelly says, really excited. What are you still doing up, Matt? Could have stuck around for this part 2. I wouldn't have minded. But I wanted to get you some sleep. I do think, let me quickly check chat, or maybe someone can tell me, is the fix going live soon? If it is, I'll keep going a little while longer until the fix goes live. And otherwise, I'll call it pretty soon here. Spermy says lots of great female pullers out there, and I'd like to see more competing. Yeah. No worries, Medieval Dead. Yeah, I got what you were saying there. Muscle Bike says, I can see a Sarah Bachman lingerie league selling well. Yeah, I don't want to quite... I don't want to quite take the tournaments down that path necessarily. To me, ring girls feel a little awkward already. But, yeah. Roylev Ari says, yeah, right now my biggest issue is really with King of the Table. East versus West has been trying to address the crowd situation. But King of the Table is like a cemetery at night. No bueno. Yeah, I've said this multiple times throughout different live streams. I think East versus West, as far as crowd and like the way they present themselves, has improved markedly throughout the last editions. Yeah, has been really good actually. So yeah, I do have to say that. Looks like there's no fix anytime soon as far as I can tell. Yeah, thank you, Matt, once again. Yeah, Matt. Hollywood Matt Connelly says, heading to bed now, mate. Yeah, I didn't mean to send you to bed there. Matt, or tell you what to do. But yeah, good that you're going to sleep. Happy that you're getting a little sleep at least. Yeah, on that note, guys, it's getting pretty late on my end, as it's getting early on Matt's end. So I will be stopping the stream here quite soon. I don't think there's a fix on. I want to thank every one of you for showing up, voting. You've been great. Everyone that's been here, if it's only for one episode or for all three so far, or more, there's a couple of there were a couple of preview live streams, but I want to thank every single one of you. Yeah, if I didn't have any viewers, I couldn't do this. But yeah, without you, would have never happened. And I enjoy it a lot. So it's giving me joy, and I thank you for doing that, for facilitating that. Spermies, Muscle Bike, White Wolf, Dan John, Hollywood Matt Connelly, of course, Medieval Dead, Roylev Ari, everyone that's been here. I'm sorry if I missed your name. Yeah, I appreciate you a lot. We have Bear, we have Gert, of course, Kazazuri. Yeah, there's been a ton of you here, dipping in and out of the live stream. Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to joining me. I enjoyed it a lot. Join me next week, same time, same place. Yeah, thanks for getting Matt's YouTube channel in there, White Wolf. Go check him out if you haven't. Matt Connelly makes some great content. Dan John says, Army Historian, you're a breath of fresh air, mate. Like I said, know you, know me. If nobody would watch my content or appreciate what I did or joined me, then I wouldn't be doing it. So yeah, there you go. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to bed in a little while here. Just gonna wind down a little. And yeah, hope to see you next week for part 4 of the All-Time Prime Fantasy League. I will be getting a special guest on again. Very exciting. Join me on my social media accounts, Instagram or Facebook. Or just keep up with the channel on the community tab if you want to catch who that special guest is going to be. And yeah, until then, until next time, Arm Historian out.